lesson from yesterday. Works for me. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so I need I did that. I did this. What else am I doing here? I'm trying to remember what else do I need to do. I got the first chatter in the box. What else was I thinking I needed to do? Murph, I can't remember what I was
Do you
thinking.
need to change your blots or anything like that, or update
No,
your any of
no,
those
I
things?
don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I was about
Uh,
to do something, but I can't remember what. Okay, anyway, let's
go ahead.
go. So we're gonna go over this game, and it's a Vienna, and we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, the background is set. I did need to change the window. See, that's my background. Goes with the shirt. And I did need to change the window, and I did. So I don't know what I was thinking. Something was in my head. Ooh, make sure I do X, but maybe it was. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I give up. All right, let's
Okay.
go. Let's go over the
It'll come
game.
to you if it's important.
All right, so I remember this designates that you are playing the Vienna. So
Mm-hmm.
we're in there. We're at that point already, and now we have a yes. So, this is the Vienna Gambit, and the purpose of a gambit is to give away this pawn. Looks like it's for free, and black can try to keep it. Right? The black didn't take, so let's have black take. And then normally you grab the center because this is one of the benefits of gambiting that pawn is this pawn is no longer fighting for the center. And so now, yes, the X. So now we have the center. We kind of can occupy that center a whole lot easier. And yes, we have weakness here, but do you try to keep on the pawn because I'm attacking it already? And so normally what you'll get is things like this, where they say, oh, I can protect that pawn. Now, Murph, they don't do the Murph move and then lose a piece.
Right.
They could pin the pawn, but that only lasts for a second, and now they have to still lose a piece. All right, so they don't Murph that, but what they'll do a lot of times is this. And then now it's on white. White has many choices. One
Right.
I
Now,
usually play is here.
before we go down this rabbit hole, I'm already in trouble because I thought the next move was to attack the knight, not d4.
No. So you mean here?
Correct.
I mean, I don't know. We'd have to check. Let's check book. I have no idea. So e5 is played the majority of the time. So that is the preferred. You're right. That is the preferred book move based on usage. That is the preferred book move. So there you go. Your study was better than my memory. The
Okay.
second most played is knight to f3. The third most played is what I instinctively was playing. But yes, you could play f5 right away, e5 right away, and then normally knight has to go all the way home. It doesn't have to, but it can't go here, it can't go here, can't go here, and it can't go here. So actually, yeah, the knight has to go all the way home. And
Okay. Now,
even if you
right.
try to do this first,
I've seen this.
okay, and even if you try to do this, pinning the pawn, now we do block our bishop, but it's because now that knight has to go here, and we're gaining enough from blocking blocking our bishop in. We've got enough out of it. So yeah, you are correct. That is book. That is much more book than what I was showing you. Yep. So before I start playing the Vienna Gambit, I should go refresh my book. See, and that's the thing about book, right? My instinct was this, but hopefully either one, if it's a classical game, I take my time and realize, wait, I can chase the knight, free tempos. Hopefully. But I mean, this isn't a bad move. It's won 55% of the time for white.
Right.
But yeah, this is the more common move. And then we also have, like I said, knight to f3 is an acceptable one, and even bishop to c4. But bishop to c4, you're down below thousands. You're only at 250 times. So by far, though, this is by far the move that was played. All right. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. But what happened in your game? So in your game, he doesn't accept the gambit.
Right.
But you are now attacking a center pawn with a wing pawn, and the only thing that's protecting it is the center pawn. So you can trade your wing for a center pawn, because this is the only way you can take back.
Right.
So you
Which
don't,
is
when
good.
that's fine. You don't have to, right? But the good news is that whenever you do it, at least for now, I mean, if he protects it with something else, he can eventually not, maybe, but still, he's going to be down to one center pawn, and you will have traded off yours for a center pawn. So he delays the acceptance of the gambit. So now your idea, right, which the book was the number one idea, was this. I don't think works too well, because now he has a pawn. You're going to take, then the queen can come up, and I don't know what's going to happen. If we go back to the book again, which is interesting, because now through transposition, right? If we go back to this move here, and we said if he takes, remember this was the second most popular move. Now the number one move for black is this, but the third most popular move is d6. And this is the exact same position that we see in your game after after this. Same position. And so we've transposed back into the book, and it says what the main line of the book anyway. And so here the number one move is d4. Remember, that's what, again, so you talked about once that, I did this f6 move in the Caro-Kann. You played
Right.
f6 because you said, yeah, I'm used to it. I do that all, and to me, I do this all the time too, because I'm
Right.
just going to hit that pawn. I don't. So I got to remember though in the Vienna Gambit that I can chase the knight earlier. So thanks. You've helped me remember a line that I didn't remember. But anyway, so here we are. And we do get our pawn duo. Everything is copacetic. He can do this, but now you could just take because your knight's out already. So he can't protect the pawn because he would just lose it. And so really, he has very few ways to try to protect the pawn. And this is probably not good. I haven't thought about it, but what does he do? He says, you could have the pawn. You take the pawn. And we get to what I was telling you about. You could have went here also, but you are now in a classically developed position. I love it. All your minor pieces are out. All you have left is the queen into castle. And this is where I was telling you that if you are fortunate enough to have a situation where you can delay castling for one move while you develop your queen, and therefore have an option to castle either side, you may want to consider that. This is a change. We always happy to castle and castle quickly. This is normal in the Vienna to castle over here. But if you were to pop your queen up here, castle this way, and start pushing, right, you're going to have a lot of fun possibly. And actually, that's basically what happens. You do delay your castle. So let's see. He castles right away. And this is where I didn't agree about your pawn push because I like you maintaining the center. By the way, we could turn on the evaluation bar just to see if the computer thinks it's good or bad. But the concept I can't argue with, right? I mean, it's the right concept that you can push on that knight. I just don't like encouraging all of this. I didn't like encouraging any of that. While
Right.
here,
This is where now I've created my own problem because, and this is what I was getting at, and I knew it was someplace here. By the knight moving over, so we go back here. Where'd he go? Okay. The concern, according to Levy, with the Vienna is the queen with the check.
oh yeah,
Okay. But not only now you put the knight here to stop that.
yeah,
But the problem is he's got a double because he's got the barrel. He's
Yeah.
got the bishop and the queen.
Yes. And he can just take here, and then you wouldn't have the knight protecting the square anymore anyway.
Right.
Yep. Yeah,
So
that's
how
all
do you
true.
what do you do with this?
Well, me, I'm back to here that I would be considering castling this way. And if you were to get the queen in here, or the knight, I can use the pawn. Bishop's holding it. It's just, I mean, it depends. So if, let's say I did this and he went here, right?
Right.
Okay, so he's threatening to take, but I could just take back with the queen, so I'd probably just castle here.
Okay.
Yep, I'd probably just castle. And now I'm going to start throwing these at him, and I'm going to get the rooks over here. I'd play this happily. I mean, this, I'm attacking the bishops, and this doesn't work because of the knight. So he might want to take first, and then if I blunder and take this way, he can win my queen. Right? And
Right.
if I
Okay.
take with the pawn, he can win my queen. So I have to take with the queen. And this check does nothing but encourage me to get behind 3 unmoved pawns. And yes, a lot of things have been taken off. You might like this because you like it when it simplifies down and you have
Yeah.
less pieces to deal with. And now you have threats like this with a
But
discovered attack
you've got
here.
to see that you've got to see to take with the queen.
Yes, that is key. And
Yeah.
how do you know that? You have to see this alignment issue. Whenever the
Right.
queen and the king are aligned, you've got to have warning bells in your head. And that's just, that comes from experience and you watching and learning. Because
Right.
we've got to know, we've got to be able to see that I have alignment issues. And the only reason he can't get away with it right now is because we could take with the knight or with the queen, because the knight's holding. And so as soon as he takes, I got to figure, oops, that was doing a lot of work for me. What's the difference? And if I just take with the bishop, ignoring it, I'm going to lose my queen for a bishop.
Right.
And if I take with the pawn, I'm going to lose my queen for a bishop. So I just have to take with the queen, and life is good. But you're right, you have to notice that. And that was just that line, right? It doesn't have to go this way at all. But yeah, my thought is if you go here, and let's say he goes here, you could just back out. Because even with this power move here, you can go here, you can push, you could just push, because the queen, it's not the queen where he's threatening your rook. Yes, barely better, 3x. Agreed. So maybe better is just save your bishop and
Yeah.
then castle. Yeah. Anyway, so you pushed, he attacked, you said, nope, I'm not trading. And he brought out his knight. Now, these pieces are not well developed. This is what we were talking about. These are not well developed. He would have been much better to come here and much more aggressive. If you attacked, you could have taken, right? This would have been a much more aggressive location for his knight, but I don't know, he blocked his. So now his queen has no scope, and his bishop has very little scope, and the knight has very little scope. So his knight really has none of these squares available. So his knight has that square. His bishop has, if you're not willing to trade it, he has only this square and that's still trade. So I'm just saying his pieces are not, and this knight is on the rim, which is
Right.
usually pretty grim. So right now your pieces are still well developed. Chasing the bishop, I don't care, that's fine. And then he should have traded, because now it's trapped. Well, it will, yeah. I don't see how he saves it. I mean, if you just attack here, what does he do? If we just do the simple attack. Yeah. So 3x says he could have thrown in the check. Absolutely correct, 3x. He could have thrown the check in between, and it could be blocked. Right? And it could be blocked. You could take with the king, and if you don't like that, you could just move your king. because I love the fact in this opening, well, we're not going to go here because of that, but we could run away this way. I know it's ugly looking, but you could. Yep. And of course you could take first, and he could take back, and then you could block, and he can attack your rook and the bishop twice, but that bishop's still going to fall, I think, right? Because the knight can't take without losing the queen. So it would be all this kind of wacky weirdness going on, right? The knight can't get here to attack the bishop. You can attack it with a pawn. In fact, you might have to do this pawn just to keep from losing the knight. Yeah. Not the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And unfortunately, the knight can't take because of the queen. And once the queen tries to move away, you could take the knight. So,
Right.
yeah, I don't see this as a problem. Anyway. So, but here, as far as I can tell, you win material.
Bishop to f5.
And we have our fork.
Okay, there's the fork. Aha. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And that we can either take with the knight, queen takes back check, and we move away because we're still about to win a whole piece. Or we could just probably move away right away and just say, okay, what'd you get for your money? Things like this don't really work. We just take here. He could take our rook, but we get two pieces. We get a bishop and a knight for the rook, and we have a nice situation. We have both bishops nice and powerful. Yeah. The other rook's going to come over. We're going to castle by hand, as they say. So yeah, I think we're fine. Yeah, knight to g4 without bishop to h4. Oh, okay. Yeah, that might have been better. Right now, here, that might have been a lot better. A lot better. You might not survive it, though, but you should. I think you would survive this, right? Yeah, you'd survive that. So maybe we don't want to give up the rook. That just starts getting a little uncomfortable. Yeah, that would be definitely better for black, I would think. Because then you have, like, discovered checks you're threatening. Gotta love discovered checks. But, I mean, it's not... I don't think it's overly hard to find moves either. Anyway, back to the game. So here, though, you have to see, right, that bishop has no scope. But worse, I mean, you did fine. I like.
I knew it was in trouble. I couldn't find the. I didn't see the fork.
Okay, because now you still have the same threat. He has 2 attacking that square. You have 2 attacking that square, so you can do it still. And you could do it still. Now this time it's not a fork. He can run away. But I'm not crazy about it. But I want you to castle. I want you to castle. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to get the pawns too far up the field here.
Yeah, so this is good, right? I mean, you're just patient. You're like, if you take either way, I'm okay. I got ways to take back, and you're being very patient.
I got a little jumpy with that knight bouncing all around the place. I wanted to castle long.
Yeah.
And get out of.
Yeah, I thought you did great. This is where you messed up. You did great. You are looking really good. You have one more piece to develop. But otherwise, you're looking great. And the question is, what do you do now? Find the best move now. And you have 21:57 left. You have 22 minutes left. And you did take, we talked about it, you did take some time, but your simplification of the center was a bad idea the way you did it, because you helped him improve these 2 pieces. And we got rid of both of our center pawns, and we traded them for not 1 center pawn and 1 wing pawn. So we lost a center pawn for a wing pawn in the deal. And now this is all open. And yeah, we got a nice battery, but now he also gets a nice development.
Okay. So what do you want to do here?
I like this still. I mean, he still only has this square, and then I'm not. You got to show me where he goes now, because now the knight's blocking. I think this just wins a bishop. So at this point, it's a puzzle-worthy moment because you're one move away from being fully developed, right?
Right.
One move away from being fully developed, and you have all this tension, and you're thinking about taking a pawn. All of those are bells for me to say puzzle-worthy moment. I mean, fully developed, thinking about taking a pawn, and I got to find a good move. Yeah, it's time for a puzzle-worthy moment. I'd be happy if you spend 5 minutes finding this move.
Okay.
And remember, this is the key. If you knew, if I were able to, while you were playing the game, go, hey, PWM, puzzle-worthy moment. You go, oh, okay. And you'd take as long as it took to try to find the right move, right? Because you'd be like, oh, I know there's a good move. I know there's a good move. But unless you know that there's a good move, you just look, you figure out what you want to do, and you're done. So what we really want is to know when it's a puzzle-worthy moment. And so right now you can forcibly win a bishop for a pawn. And you just have to find it. And
Right.
you could find it because there's a piece that has only one square to go to if you attack it, and then it has no squares to go to. So you can find it. I feel confident you can find it. You just have to realize that the piece has no squares. And then can I kill it? The dark square bishop has one square, and it's a good square because we're aligned. So if you moved your king over, I'd be okay too. But boy, this is a free piece. I mean, you're winning a piece. Why not, right? Why would you do anything but win a piece? If you look at it, the only thing that changed at this point to this point is this pawn. So if you were to move here, chances are he's not going to do anything in here either because you didn't change anything that, right? There was no reason for him to do this. So he's either going to still do this, try to do that, or he's going to do something over here. Who knows? But the bad part is he might move his knight, for giving the bishop a runaway square. So yeah, you want to grab this right away. And if we get back to, besides the fact it's a puzzle-worthy moment, besides hopefully you can find it because it's a puzzle-worthy moment, I want you to find it because I don't want to give up. Here I didn't give up. I gave up a center pawn for a center pawn, but I helped the bishop get better. And then I gave up another pawn. And this time I'm giving up a center pawn for a wing pawn. And so I don't want to give up a center pawn for a wing pawn. So I want to see, can I keep my center pawns? And if this tension is bothering you, then one of the options is to push the pawn. And it is protected 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So forget that the bishop is trapped. Why not? Oh, and you asked me this the other day, Murph. How, you said, is it really important about backward pawns? And remember I said, yes, it is. This is a backward pawn. This is not. You have a pawn. You have no backward pawns. We don't count them on the second rank. So he has a backward pawn. It's on his 3rd rank. This would cement that backward pawn. It ain't moving. So that's another reason to do it. Just to think, I'm supposed to occupy the square in front of a backward pawn. I could do it with the knight and lose the knight. I could do it with the pawn. He can't take. The bishop has to move. I could put something in the square in front of a backward pawn. I'm going to go for it and see what happens. And one is I don't want to trade it for a wing pawn. 2, I want to block in a backward pawn, even though it looks like he can get out. But I know he can't get out yet because this guy's under attack. He would have only one move unless he took the pawn, and then you would just take back and you go, wow, that was a bad move, but maybe he saw this. And then from here, you just have to find, okay, well, what do I got now? Because I did that. I can take the backward pawn, but that would be actually helping him to a degree. If he takes me, I only have one piece. He has two pieces attacking. So I might think, oh, I got to do something about this pawn. I might push, I might take, or I can defend it again somehow. But then you might dawn on you, wait, I can attack the bishop first, right? Because I have time. I can play chase the bishop. It's a piece. It's undefended. It's an undefended piece. Like loose pieces fall off. So it's undefended. And if you found this move, you'd be like, wait, I just want a bishop. Cool. And you asked me before about stumbling into a good move, right? And that's why I want you to know principles, because you could stumble into good moves. You don't have to see everything that this bishop gets trapped. All you have to do is say, it's a backward pawn. I'm going to occupy the square in front of it. I don't want to trade my center pawn for a wing pawn. I mean, worst case scenario, even if he could take, I would, he can't take. He's got to move. And let's say he's not trapped, or I don't see it and I take, well, then the worst case about it is, well, I still came away with, I have a center pawn and he doesn't. So I'm still better. By the way, the bishop is still trapped. You could say no, 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 but you could say yes, 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 yes. And the bishop is still trapped. And he could keep trying to get out of the trap, and I don't blame him. I would keep trying. But I don't see how he stops you. Now he loses it. What if I start doing that nonsense stuff's signals from baseball on some player to get them kicked for cheating? What if I say, yeah, that would be wrong. Don't do that, 3x. Anyway, so there you go. Multiple reasons to find this move. Knowing that it's not even knowing for sure it's a puzzle-worthy moment, but knowing you're near finishing development, hopefully you would look for it, right? You look for something. And this move, you might say, I don't think that's a good move because it doesn't do anything and it moves a pawn. It's like the classic. I mean, I know you remember this one. If you don't know what to do, don't move a pawn. It's almost as if Black didn't know what to do, so he moved a pawn. In which case, you should go, wait, the only thing I can see that's doing is doing this. Don't overreact. Make sure it's a threat that you're worried about, and it's not a threat you're worried about yet. So therefore, it's a bad move. See what else you can do. See how you can take advantage. I like keeping a center pawn, pushing it down his throat, whatever way you want to think about it. You would have found a good move. You would have found a winning move. So here, interestingly enough, he drops a piece. Do you see it?
Yeah, I've got two attacking the bishop, and he's got the queen protecting it.
No, this was the move.
Right.
That was the move. You'd be winning this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he made a mistake, right? He had to take with the bishop. Had to take with the bishop. Now, the bishop's only protected once, but it is protected, and the queen is protected enough. Now, if your queen wasn't aligned with it, then you could take, because then the rook would take the queen. But right now, because your queen is in this battery situation, you can't do it. You're not going to get a piece. You don't win a piece. So he should have just taken with the bishop. He took with the knight, and that gave you a free piece. And you took 2 minutes, over 2 minutes it looks like, or a minute and a...
I looked at this. I thought about the queen trade, and I for whatever reason, and again, sometimes it's who I'm playing,
No, I don't understand that part. You keep saying it. I don't quite get it. What does it matter who you're playing? It's a free piece versus not a free piece.
I don't think he wants to lose his queen.
Who cares? It's a free piece, and you're still threatening a queen trade.
Right, but I get to me, I get the knight. He can only take it back with the bishop.
Yeah.
And he's forced the queen trade.
Yeah, and so let's say he did what he should have done, which is take, right?
Right.
And then you get your queen trade.
Right.
And how is this better for you than the full free piece? Because right now you're dead equal on material. And in fact, some people would say he's better because he has two bishops,
Right.
but
Oh no,
otherwise
you know,
he's dead equal on material. He's fully developed. You still have a bishop on home base.
right.
So I don't see how this is better for you than a free piece. And if he doesn't trade queens, how does he hold on to the knight? Because it's his move. You
Right.
can't come here and say check. You just take them off.
Right.
If he tries to protect the knight, you just take it.
Yeah, it's just I chalk this up to, like I said to you before, bad thinking.
Okay, good. Good. So you need to figure out what was bad about it so you can fix your thinking, obviously, right?
Right.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what you're telling me. If it's bad thinking, I have to
Yes.
find a way to solve it. By the way,
Right.
here,
Well.
no, that doesn't work either. I was just thinking he had some play, but he has nothing. He has nothing because the knight holds it. Yeah, this is just a free piece.
Right.
So this knight takes is a gigantic blunder. And then you not taking the free piece is a mistake. I mean, this is a mistake. You had a free piece.
Right.
Instead, you let him off the hook. Now, he let you keep the knight. So he let you back. He saved you. Because yeah, you can't take his queen because you would have been in check. But now you just
Right.
bring the same piece back. This was just a blunder. He should have just taken this way. So
Well, he thought he could win the queen.
maybe. Not. I agree. I think he thought he was winning the queen because it's protected by the knight, and he's like, "Ha ha!"
Right.
And he probably just forgot bishops go backwards.
Again, this is on my level. I would understand that thinking.
Yes. Yes, but you understand why it's really broken, right? That he's
Yes.
missing
Yes.
the fact the bishop can come back.
Correct. Which took me a few minutes to figure out
Yeah.
because I'm like, wait a minute. And then I realized I had made a mistake. I said, now I'm really in trouble. And then I said, wait a second. And then I brought the bishop back
Yeah.
because I took a few minutes, and you could tell the time how long it was to figure this out.
By the way, if you had taken here, could you get away with that? You'd be down. And if when the dust settles, I have 4 pieces versus 2. So I have 2 pieces for rook. I'm still winning. And by the way, right, he should take with this rook because otherwise you just win another rook. So you're still winning. Even now, you'd still be winning.
Right.
Yeah. So you're even winning here. So even if you didn't see that you could bring the bishop back, if you had just taken the bishop, and he would have been like, "Ha! All right, I got his queen," he's still losing. I think that's hilarious.
It's check though.
No, I mean you go here first.
Oh, queen. Okay.
I'm saying if you did that instead, if he took here, you could take here. He still
Okay.
has to take your queen eventually, and
Right.
you still have 2 pieces for the. Oh, by the way, in this order, he actually loses another, and so now you have a rook, a bishop, and a knight against a rook, a bishop, and a knight, and you have an extra knight.
Right.
You have an extra piece, so you're up a full piece still that way. Yeah. So even if you didn't see the bishop and you said, "Oh, well, I guess I'll get the most I can out of it. I'll get the bishop." After you took the bishop and he took back, I think you would realize, "Hey, I could take his queen." And you'd be winning again. So kind of fun. You'd be winning anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you're winning. So, yeah, you were winning pretty much whichever way you went. But this one also says, hey, you don't get a free piece. And so now you traded queens, you traded rooks, and you traded knights. Why not? You're trading down everything because you're way ahead of material. And he takes here, and you take, and this is just a blunder we know about.
Right.
By the way, there's a classic attempt to trap the bishop by doing this.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was in my head. I
Why
just
didn't you
didn't
do
do
it?
it. I didn't do it right.
Yeah, I mean, this would be the move, right?
Right.
He
I didn't know
takes,
what
you
the move
take
was.
back. Oh, okay. And this doesn't work because you just take free candy.
Right.
And what else can he do? Nothing really.
Right.
So he can't do much. He can try to chase your bishop and say, aha, then I'll be able to put my knight here. But, you have multitudes of choices of how you want to do it. And if he ever goes after your bishop, but you're not going to take it right away, you want to wait. And so you just keep playing around for a while. By the way, if he comes after your bishop, I would think you could just go here. And then you could come back after your bishop and you could go, good, I finally get my king to go eat your bishop anyway. This doesn't work. I don't need the knight to take the bishop. The king is quite capable on his own. And also you could take it with the bishop and finally get that developed. Yeah, this is a pattern very much worth knowing, and it's called the poison pawn. You do that and you trap the bishop. Happens a ton of times, and it's really, very hard not to get your bishop trapped taking a rook pawn. When you took the rook pawn, you didn't have a pawn here. So if you pushed this pawn, you would have just taken that one too. But when you have all three pawns, and somebody takes that rook pawn, chances are you could trap them. So keep that in mind. That's a very important pattern for you to know.
Right.
Okay, and the rest was just a blunder you missed, right? This was the bishop move was the blunder. You could have done almost anything else, including push here, because this check doesn't hurt you. You just move up.
Right.
And then eventually you either have the bishop hold your rook or you move the pawns out of the way, and then you have the bishop hold the rook. It's just going to take you a while to get them active, but you have a whole extra piece. Cool. So this is the Vienna that I played.
Right now, what's back up a little bit? So the knight's on the wrong side for the traditional gambit. What's the idea here?
Of the gambit or something else?
Well, you called it a gambit. You said
Yeah.
you still like, so go ahead.
Yeah, this is a gambit. By the way, it's the second most popular move. 29,000 times. This was played 72,000 times. So yes, I believe you can still play this gambit.
Okay.
He takes. Knight to f3, all most popular moves, by the way. Now, the most popular move is g5, trying to hold on to the pawn, like we talked about. But your opponent played here, and you...
Well, this is actually your game.
Right, I'm sorry. My opponent played there. I could have played this right away. Don't remember why I didn't. But I remember thinking about it and not wanting to do that right away. But I could have. But I like the bishop move too. And the only part that looks scary is that, oh, this is wide open. But yeah. So he's attacking the knight, attacking possibilities. But what's the general rule? He moved his knight twice in the opening. Now, he does keep me from putting my pawn there. So I'll give him kudos for that, because that was the next move to try to win the pawn and all that good news. So I couldn't do what I wanted to do, was put it here. But I still want to free my bishop. And I want to get my queen out of the way afterwards so I can castle. So I did this. I don't know if it's the best move. It's the move I made. I would think I could have also chased the bishop.
So the idea with this is to castle queen side. You're going to take back the pawn on f with the bishop, the f4 pawn.
Yeah, eventually, hopefully.
And just develop.
Yeah, and even if, see, I haven't taken it back yet. A gambit, the idea behind a gambit is not to win back the pawn. The idea behind a gambit is to give away a pawn for faster development, which is probably why I should have played here. This would have been much more logical. This is the most played move, and then this comes next. And I would have been
Okay.
fine. I would have been happy. I could have gotten this. I would have gotten this. I would have castled either way. A lot like what you had. The only difference is that his piece is over here instead of the discombobulation he had. But I played out of, I didn't play my norm. I played this, and I think he smartly took away the square from my pawn. When you know your opponent wants to do something, the best way to keep a pawn from getting there is to put something there, because then the pawn can't get there. So I thought that was a good move on his part, and I just had to be patient and keep developing. And I finally got my pawn. He could have tried to protect it, but I got my pawn. And now he's giving me this move, but attacking my bishop, of course, at the same time. So I just decided to protect it. So if you look right now, I'm one move away from fully developed. I can castle not to either side, not at the moment. I have to push this pawn first. But I did this so I can protect the bishop, but now I can also castle queenside. I should be able to castle kingside if I feel like it. I have the only pawns that are occupying the center. So I'm attacking this square in the center, and I'm attacking this square. And my pieces, I feel, are well developed. I know the knights are on the best square possible, right? So I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay.
And then he blunders. And he murked a pawn, did he not?
Yeah. It happens. I mean, it's just, I know it probably drives you crazy, but it does happen.
Yeah, it does drive me crazy.
I'm sure it does.
Yes, 3x, agree on that analysis, my friend. Yeah, this is just bad, right? This is just bad. But, maybe he didn't like this pawn coming. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, this was keeping me from castling. What? But he's decided to put another attacker on the bishop, because he's only got one attacking it. I mean, at least if he had taken with the knight first, I take back, and then he does this, but I would still push. It still loses a pawn. It still loses a piece.
Right.
And so and now here he could have delayed it by putting the queen in front, pinning the pawn. But I have 1, 2, he'd have 1, 2, so he still couldn't take the pawn. And I could just castle either way. No, that's not true. If I castle this way, he could actually say check. I guess it doesn't matter, because then I can attack, chase his bishop, and he'd still lose the knight. But this would be normal. Trying to hold on would be to pin the pawn so it can't take.
Okay.
It doesn't work, but it's normal. So I didn't have to take right away. Again, I could castle, and I probably should have, because there's no reason to allow him a check. Right? I could castle right now and be better. But I didn't castle. Yes, I like that too, 3x. So here, though, I'm playing like he, right? This is where I laugh to myself, because my king does not need to castle. You're down to 2 minor pieces. I have 3. There's only 1 open file. I'm going to fight for it immediately, because now my rooks are talking. Now my king is not behind 3 unmoved pawns, but you ain't getting to me. How are you getting to me? You have no dark squared bishop. That's a big factor. There is no alignment fear. No alignment fear. And so what can he do? He can't get in at me. And even if he can't do this to even try to double up, because it wouldn't matter. My knight has this square, my queen has this square, the rooks, everybody, all these squares are taken up. He has nothing. So I can do this so calmly. And my biggest decision during the game was this side or that side. It was which side to go to. So I love this position. I mean, I feel like I'm winning by a ton. He has to take, basically. Now, I can take, or I can blockade the doubled pawns, or I can start fighting for the center. I mean, multiple opportunities. So we're going to fight for the center, for the file. Now, I don't want to take and fix his pawns. Oh, but I wouldn't take with the rook and fix his pawns. But I don't have any problem with taking with the bishop, because now I just win the exchange.
Right.
I'll look at this. I said I'm not even going to do that, because this pawn behind the rook is weak. And now I'm threatening with the knight. I can keep my bishop. Wow, I was being very clever that day. And you know, he could have at least taken, but then he would lose this pawn, but that's it. So this doesn't, I don't see how this works at all. Let's see what I did. Let's see how clever. Okay, I didn't know if I was going to sack here even, but I didn't. And I just took with the knight. And yes, he gets to fix his pawns, but now that's so that I can castle what we call by hand. He's going to try to storm me on the king's side, on over here, and I just said nope. We're going to stop it. And so far, I don't mind staying in the center. And this is a good stopping move because I have all these pieces hitting this square. And if he tries to go things like that, I can just again trade on that square. Everything is kind of well protected. And guess what, Murph? What's this pawn? It's a backward pawn. This guy's not a backward pawn. This guy's not a backward pawn. They have somebody next to them. This guy's a backward pawn. Yeah, being a rook up is a good thing. 3x says, I've heard being up a rook is good. But
The
it's a rook for a
D6
knight.
pawn's not the D6
No,
pawn's
it's
not backwards.
No. Why would this be backwards? I have somebody equal or behind me. So he's not backwards.
Okay.
I can
Equal
push him
part,
and
the
he's
equal
protected.
part is interesting. Okay.
Sure, I can push him and he's protected. If he's
Okay.
backward, if I push him, he's not protected by a pawn.
I got you. Okay.
So it's impossible to push this guy. Sorry, it's impossible to push this guy and be protected by a pawn. This guy can push when needed and still be able to be protected by a pawn. So he's not backward. If this pawn were back here, he'd not be backward. If it's here, he's not backward. If it's here, he's backward.
Okay.
So it's, think of it, he has to be the last one. Right now they're tied. So out of the 3 pawns, right? Out of the 3 pawns, using this guy as my center pawn. Out of those 3 pawns, is he behind? Is he losing the race? No, he's tied. In fact, he's tied for first with this guy. So this guy, is he losing the race? Totally. This guy's ahead of him, and this guy quit the race. He's gone. And pawns are awesome next to each other. 3x. They're a duo, D-U-O, and they have the power of picking which one to push. And so they hit all these squares, and they're always threatening, I might push here, or I might push here, and whichever one I push, it's protected by the other one. And if I'm attacking a piece, you got to move because you're not going to give me a queen. I mean, you're not going to give me a piece for that pawn, right?
Right.
Yeah. So duos are awesome because they have that power. So what did I do? I said, that's a backward pawn. What do you do with a backward pawn? You occupy the square in front of it. And the only real burning question was, should I use the bishop or the knight? Well, I like the knight. Attacks here, hits here, hits here. Knights are the best square to use on a backward pawn outpost. We call it an outpost because, again, no pawn can chase me away, and the rook can't chase me away from straight. The queen can't take me away from straight. And the best way is I got a pawn supporting me, and by the way, there's a pawn of his in the way, so he can't attack this pawn, and he can't attack my piece. He has to use the bishop to attack it, or a knight to attack it. That's it. And imagine if this bishop were off the board, then only the knight could attack it. So 3x likes bishop to b5 better. Absolutely no problem, 3x. Like I said, I debated. I debated. I know I took time trying to decide. Because they both have, I think, good reasoning behind it. But this is the one I opted for. It was more, I think of it as more aggressive because I was immediately attacking the pawn twice, so I went with that one.
Yeah, the bishop you I don't see the priority.
Yeah, one thing is this wouldn't chase anything.
Right.
But again, I wouldn't have been attacking anything. So this is easy, right? We either go here or here. I think I decided to go here to maintain this because normally I would have thought I would have went here. Just out of reflex, I would have went all the way back. But I like it. Okay, went here. And he's chasing again, except this is free candy 3 times over. 2 times over. So that's just free candy. I have no idea. I mean, he has a nice pawn chain. He's stunting my bishop. I would have thought he'd try to trade off the knight. I would have thought he would have tried to trade off the knight. And if I let him trade off the knight, then this pawn push, then my bishop has to run off. You know, he's got some, he could try for counterplay. But this move is just free candy. And I took it. That's just free. I don't understand people that give away free candy. He's still not attacking the knight. He's trying to hold on to the pawn. And granted, look at this alignment, Murph. It's been here for a long time. But he hasn't done anything to try to open up that alignment, which would have been the plan. And you might like this move, Murph. Look at this. His queen cannot avoid a trade on any of those squares. So his queen only has this square and this square if he doesn't want to trade off his queen. I like that. Right? That's good for me. So he allows the trade, and you should know he shouldn't allow the trade because he's down a full rook. He's down 5 points in material besides any pawns. He's down a full rook. You can't allow a trade. Can't allow free candy either. Sorry.
Right.
Can't allow the
But
free candy.
once, see, the interesting thing is way back before when you got everything out and open, it's an avalanche.
Yes.
It starts building.
Yes, right here, where I actually have all my pieces out on the board.
Right. And again,
it becomes
it's development.
easy to play.
It's development.
It's development, and then just finding, just all
Right.
you have to do. It's like, hey, I know I have winning moves. I just have to find them.
Right.
And so it's a comfort level to know that you're ahead, and all you have to do is keep finding the right moves. I mean, that's all I had to do here was find winning moves.
See, in the reason I asked about this is the gambit, when they talk about this on some of the videos, the target appears to be that knight.
Yeah,
And
I don't know why you were. I mean, they might chase the knight a lot, but yeah, that's not. I mean, any gambit. It's not really. No, it's not the knight. I mean, it could be a line or two inside of the gambit where you chase the knight and you gain something by chasing the knight, some tempos or something. But it's not the purpose.
Right.
It's definitely not.
But there's no for this side. It just doesn't look like there's an urgency with that. With the knight on that side, the urgency is the pawn will take your knight if you don't move. So you've got yeah. Whereas here, there's no, you're gonna lose a pawn if you don't do something, but there's no urgency here.
Yeah.
But this is, but just from a development now.
Yeah, but like you said, so on this one, I agree with. I hear you, and I agree. That's obviously the better move. Not here. This variation we were talking about.
Right.
Now,
if he had played maybe more, if he had developed more pieces, maybe this game isn't such a runaway. But it doesn't look like it was. Some of the moves were I understood. They weren't the best, but I understood them, so I can see how it happened to him.
Yep.
And that's why it's interesting, this opening. So I like this.
Yeah. So this is, like you said, I mean, the knight has to go home.
Right.
And so we're back to speedy development, right? I mean, and by the way, here the book says that the number one move, 8,500 plus times versus only 770. Not even an eighth, not even a tenth. Not even a tenth of the time compared. Knight to F3 is the number one move.
Yeah, you've got to protect against the queen check.
Yes, exactly.
That's Levy's. That's the one.
Yep, there's one caveat. You gotta protect against.
And he mentions it, but he doesn't really talk about it as how important it is. Because I ran into it later on, and it's a pain if you let that get in there. And like I said, I didn't see it with the queen. I saw it with the battery of the bishop and the queen.
Yep. So as soon as this
And
knight
that's a
isn't
problem.
here, you have to know about this.
Right.
That's always a risk, right? With that knight not being there, it's a risk you have to know about. So knight to g8 was played 9,000 times. Queen to e7 has been played 6,000 times. Knight to h5 surprisingly has been played like 134 times. Why in the world that is beats me. But knight to h5 has been played 139, probably against really weak players. Knight to d5 135 times. Knight to g4 97 times. I cannot fathom why it has been played ever. Bishop to c5 has been played. I don't get any of this. None of this works. And the results bear it out. So yeah. So this is correct. Definitely. Okay. Thank you. That was
Well,
good.
that corrects my thinking, because when I just looked at it and you said, well, I'm going to play the game with the knight on the other side, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I like playing it on either side.
Right.
And
Because you're not chasing.
by the way, this doesn't work yet because you can't take.
Right.
That's how this works. So they have to take first to try to get this in. And that's why the correct move has got to be here. Because again, I got to keep the queen out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And let's just look for fun. If they try to hold the pawn, right? See, they're trying to hold the pawn. So 750 times people castle and give up the knight for the pawn.
Can I ask you what
Wow.
your ratings are? You're not including 1,200, I'm guessing.
No. These ratings are 2,000 and above.
Oh, you're way up there.
I don't think it's that far, but 2,000 and above. So
Okay.
if you always have to include above you, you're 1,600 now in this time frame in classical, right? You're 1,600, I think. So
Yeah.
you can't include the 1,600. You'd have to include 1,800.
Okay.
Because I don't want you looking at people at your level to see what the correct move is. And that's why you can go all the way up to 2,000, because when you're using the database, you're using it instead of looking up the book lines. And so you
So
want to know
I,
what the
I
best
want
players play.
1,600, which is what I'm at, or I don't want 1,600.
No, you do not want what you're at. You
Okay.
always want to be higher than what you're at.
So 18, 2,000, and 22?
Yeah. And you can throw in 2,500. Because if you or your opponent is making a horrible move, then the 2,500s would just never have made that move.
Okay.
So yeah, it's more of a give me everything from here and above. And the here should not be your rating, it should be the next rating above you. So if you're in the
Okay.
1600s on that chart, you go to 1800s. When you get to 1801, then you want to put in 2000 and above. You want to see how stronger players, what moves they make in that same situation. And if you get like me, which happens sometimes when I get rid of 2000s and I'm playing a game, let's go to my game from the beginning. And at my game, I can say, okay, so a lot of games, but I'm only looking at 2,200 and above. Okay, and again, I don't think 2,200 is spectacular, but it's very good. So I'm looking at this. My move is still the second most popular move. But if my move were like way down here at like 0%, below 1%, I would stop making that move. But my move is the second most popular move. So I know I can play my move. That immediately tells me my move is plausible. It's the second most popular move. If you were like, I don't know if I can play this move, well, let's just look at the chart. And if it's in the,
Okay. Yep.
if
Okay.
1800s and above for you, if 1800s and above, all the way above, if it's in the top 3 or 4 or 5 moves, then you can play that move. If it's not in the top 5 moves, you probably want to stop playing that move from a book memorization and learning standpoint, not from a can I not play this move because I don't care if no one played that move, but it's a genius move, right? You're a genius. You want to keep playing that move. But if we're looking to see what the book says is the best move, and by the way, the game is pretty old, so people have been playing this game for a really long time. Yeah. So what's the most popular move here? Is E takes F4. Gotta play knight to F3. G5 is the next most popular move. Bishop to C4. G4 is the most popular move. Now, remember, we are still looking at strong players, and I have the majority of the move, the 169 times, the move that's played is castle. The win rate isn't good. Black wins 55% of the time. White only won 42%. So if I want to go to where white won more than lost, I'd have to go to this move, knight to G1, which was only played 15 times out of 197. So low usage, but it had a better win rate. So if we go to the castle move and we say, okay, how are we doing? By the way, I'm looking and I see a 2540 versus a 2581. I see a 2488 versus a 2543. So I have high rated games where this has been played. Now, if I'm learning the opening, I might look at the losses for white because I want to see where they messed up, but I also definitely want to look at the wins, right? But the most common move now is G takes. Why not? The most common move is queen takes. Bishop to C5 check. King to H1. And the most popular move, queen to H4. Knight to D5, hitting the pawn for a fork. And at this stage, black has won by far over 94% of the games. Black has dominated at this point. So we'd have to go back to here to say, what is the right move for white? Black dominates with queen to H4. It just dominates. 82% win rate. So right now it's on black to find the right move, queen to H4. But we could say, well, what else is there that we could have maybe done? At this point, D4 is the only other move that's been played, and black won 71% of the time. So that's not a good time for it, right? So the question is like, how do we get any wins out of this? I mean, seriously, how do you get any wins out of this? Well, queen to F4 is played the most, 40% win rate for white. The next most played is D4, ignoring that pawn and freeing the bishop, and the queen should come out next. Wow, this is tough. By the way, bishop takes F7 check has a 50, it's only been played twice, once a win and once a loss. And those people were the white, that when white won, white was 2181 playing against a 2300. But that was back in 2020, and here black won when they were both in the 2200s. That looks to me more like the kind of thing I would have tried, because now you get here and now you're threatening checks. You're going to try to have some fun. You get this immediately. The king is exposed, so you got to try to see what you can do. Two moves that black has tried is bishop to h6, protect the pawn, and queen to g5. Those are only two games. There's only two games. This one, black lost, and maybe because black stubbornly just kept with this. He could have taken here and threatened the queen. That would have seemed more logical to me. But he didn't. Queen to h4, g3, pawn can't take. Knight finally takes. Queen to d3. Oh my gosh, pawn still can't take. Queen to f6, bishop takes. If you take, you're going to lose material. You're going to lose your queen. So you can't take, so you run away because you have a discovered tack on it. Knight to d5 chases the queen and hits there. And you can't protect it this way. You can't protect it this way. So you could protect it that way. It looks like the only way, in which case you lose the knight. Ha ha! Wow. You're going to lose the knight, or we're going to get a fork. So queen to g7 says, I can't lose the knight. You can have the fork. He gets the fork. And does he take? No! He threatens because it's protected, by the way. So he doesn't have to take. So he threatens the knight again. Bishop trades. Rook, of course, takes back. And now king takes because now the bishop's gone. C takes d4. Right now, when we look, white is down 2 pieces. White is down 2 minor pieces, and he ends up winning this game. He is down 2 minor pieces, and he keeps looking for ways to win, and black rightly is simplifying the game. Wonder if he won on time. We're in some weird, we're not even on the main line. That wasn't even what happened on the main line. Oh no, that's it. No, that was a game. That was a game. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, this is a wild game. And yep, that was it. I don't know what the end result was in that game. Let me go view it real quick. Black timed out. Yeah. So black was up material, but he ran out of time. He was up 2 pieces, but he ran out of time. And that's the problem, right? You know, it's an 8-0 game, Murph. That's why I don't want you playing fast, and especially not no increments, because this game black is winning by material, but he didn't have enough time to figure it all out, and he ends up losing on time. And then so you don't know if that opening was a good idea or not. Anyway, fun. All right, my friend, any questions?
No, this was interesting.
Okay. Do you want to look at any other games?
No, but I did go take a look at. There's a whole bunch of different people out there that have chess things, and one of them, other than Levy and those guys, because they're some of their stuff is just for show, because they want hits and things. But there's a Russian guy that did something on backward pawns.
Okay.
So I was studying that. So I still don't know when to do that. It's on my radar now to pay more attention to it. Mm-hmm. But the idea is, what's this? How significant is this?
Yeah.
And he talked about it being important.
I definitely think it's extremely important. So pawn structures at all are important. These are doubled pawns. They're double isolated pawns.
Right.
Okay. Really important. I want to occupy the square in front of those double isolated pawns, because just think about it. If I can occupy this square, they're not going anywhere, and you can't attack through it. And because these guys don't go anywhere, that bishop doesn't get to play. So if you think about it as development, I have every piece is developed. Queen isn't developed, the bishop isn't developed, and the rooks aren't able to talk to each other. So he's got multiple problems. And it's all about it's all based on pawn structure. Now he went from double isolated to 2 pawn islands, and a nice pawn, and he has 2 center pawns. I only have 1. So right now his pawns are better than mine. His pawns are definitely better than mine. But he's down a whole piece. Right? Because he was down here. This gave me the piece. So now I'm up a full knight. We both have a knight and a bishop, but I'm up a full knight. And then he allows me to trade that full knight for a full rook. So now instead of being up a knight, I'm up a full rook. And that's hard to come back from. But his pawn structure is better than mine. And pawn structures still matter so much, like this. I'm not going to let him keep pushing and get a place for his queen. And no. We're going to stymie that pawn push right away. He goes, here we just take free candy. And now this move says backward pawn. He's trying to free the bishop, but it blocks in the queen a little bit. But mostly, hey, that's a backward pawn. No pawns over here. I'm going to take advantage of that backward pawn. Again, 3x like the bishop. I'm not going to argue. I think both are valid. I'm happy with either because, and then we just gave away free candy. So if we go right here, besides the fact that white is up a full rook, which is, you can't ignore it. It's a major factor of why white's winning. The other thing is though, while black has better pawns over here, these pawns are nice. I only have 2, but these pawns are nicer than these 2. And the reason these 2 are in trouble is because this one's backward. It's the only reason he's having any trouble over there. It's because that pawn is backward.
Okay.
And then he just blunders free candy. Both pawns disappear, and that's just, you can't do that. But right now, if you were like, how do I win this game? Well, I don't see any tactical shots where I'm going to destroy him in 1 or 2 moves. That's not here. I can simplify, maybe trade off pieces, right? I mean, if he allows me, I can put my queen here to trade off the queens, and then my knight still watches over that backward pawn. If I could trade off everything and I end up with a rook against a king, I should win that game. So he doesn't want to trade pieces. He needs to keep his pawns on the board. He needs to use that pawns hopefully to get a pass pawn. But he's going to have a really hard time doing it because these, back to pawn structure, that's the bad bishop.
So go back to the double pawns for a second. I want to ask you a question. Okay, so come forward a little bit. Okay, stop here. Stop here. So let's say the rook is a knight and not a rook.
Okay.
He's got double pawns.
Yep.
We've talked about double pawns being a target.
Yes. So if this is a knight.
Yeah, let's assume that's a knight.
I'm not taking it.
Right. So that was going to be my question to you.
Oh, not in a heart, never in your life am I taking that. If that's a knight, I'm not taking it. Now my queen's under attack, and now my knight's under attack.
Would you take would you take the lead pawn if you can?
Yeah, sure. And then take this one later. Sure. It's still so an isolated pawn is bad. Double isolated pawns is bad in a different way. It's not like double is worse than single. So a double here's the one, like every negative, there's a silver lining. For every weakness, there's a positive of some kind. Right. And so this square is super weak because there's no pawns that can ever chase anything away. So I could just plop a piece here, he could take it, I could plop a piece there, and that piece is going to sit there for a long time. So this square is what's super weak. But look at this, though. This is a strange thing where these squares are all uninhabitable by white.
Right.
Right? So there is a positive with it, but unfortunately the positive doesn't outweigh the negative.
Okay. And
if you had triple pawns, right, if this were a black pawn, you'd be hitting all of these squares. I mean, it's just weird. And triple pawns do happen.
I've had them.
Yeah. So the benefit is that you hit all those squares. You better figure out how to leverage that advantage early and try to use it, because otherwise your pawns are sitting ducks for the most part.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that.
Yep. So yeah, if that was a knight, we're not even talking about the fact that I'm going to lose a piece. But if that was a knight, I would not be taking that. No.
Right.
No way. No
how. Right. Okay.
Not in anybody's dream state would I be taking that. Yeah, I had toyed with this idea.
Interesting.
Just didn't seem worth it.
No, you lose the queen.
No, you don't.
Oh, you get pinned. Ah.
But I would have given him back the piece.
Right.
or 2 pawns. And I didn't see why I'm giving him back the piece for 2 pawns. And now I'm only up 1 pawn. So yeah, that was not. But you start looking at things like that. You're like, I could take, and then he'll be pinned. But you're like, that's not a good idea. It doesn't really work for me.
Right.
But a knight for a rook, we're gonna take because now I'm up a whole knight. Like I said, then he just kind of fell apart. Okay, cool beans, man.
Okay.
I'm gonna head back to work.